morning, everyone, and welcome back to King B's daily RNS podcast. We go through some of the RNSs from the day, what happened in the market, and a bit about each one. So first up, CRCL. So 7% down the day. Basically just said that they're starting their initial exploration work on their 100% owned asset in Western Australia. They're looking for lithium, and it's kind of going off the back of their satellite imagery they have already done. So again, we talked a lot about the metals and mining Lazon curve, and it's all about they could be going in that discovery phase, which should be hopefully an exciting time for shareholders. Next up, All Lithium, flat on the day, basically gave quite an extensive project update. Seems a lot of work going on behind the scenes, a lot of strategic stuff, a lot of building the teams, getting things ready. They've got a 30 to 50% power cost reduction in some contracts. They got tenders out. Q4 2023, they hopefully get their Fieldspar mineral resource estimate. And they've appointed 3 general managers amongst loads of other things in this RNS. So seems like they're ticking all the right boxes to get ready for what they're doing in the future. Next up, WSBN. So 2 RNSs today, and the second one wasn't a surprise. So the first one was all about the fact they've got now this exclusive option to acquire 100% of this lithium and gold project in Western Australia. Not much about this asset really, and a few things that need, pardon the pun, drilling into really, and getting some work done on to really prove whether it is what it says in the tin, like with all these shares. But within this, so there's 400k in shares at 2.15p, and an initial 25k at 2.15p too. So basically, the 25k is an upfront, which came as the RNS, right? So there's 1.16 million as the second RNS, just basically tagging on to this RNS here. But 400k is paid after DD is done. So once they've done all their work and they've dug into what is going on, then they can pay this next part in installments. But if it's 1.16 million for 25k, it's quite a few shares possibly coming to the market if they continue with this purchase. Next up, Opti, 2% down the day. So they basically are developing compounds to tackle obesity, high cholesterol, lots of other things. And I'm a metals and mining guy, but I'm starting to like farmers a bit more now. The amount of RNSs that are coming out about farmers at the moment, I'm really digging into them and I'm quite enjoying it actually. I think it's some interesting plays that are kind of really low on the share price, and you never know what can happen with pharma. It can really dive, but it can then really spike afterwards. So I'm going to really look into a few of these farmers that we have been talking about over the last few days. Basically, they've got a University of Leeds, a 55k to basically investigate, substantiate all the research out there about obesity and different things. So it's a nice bit of work. Hopefully it comes off for them. Next up, CTL. So they have raised £8 million. They've said that due to significant investor interest, they increased it to that amount. So it wasn't the original amount. They actually increased it. 12% down the day. There's a bit of unpicking about these shares, and there's a few warrants on the side which kind of weren't mentioned in the pre-placing talk at the start of the RNS. So it's 36.3 million shares, which represents 25% of the company. So it's broken down into 14 million placing shares, 22 million conditional placing shares. Now, within the 14 million initial placing shares, there's 7 million warrants, and there's 11 million warrants as well. So 18 million warrants in total. But Regal funds they've got 10% already, and they've subscribed to another 1.2 million to maintain their percentage, because obviously they're diluting themselves within all this agreement. So it's good stroke of confidence there with Regal funds, which is good. Will they hold? No one can predict that. People can say all different things about this RNS, but we don't know. It's up to them to do what they do with their money. But the warrants is something to watch out for in the future in terms of how they get sold and when they get issued. Next up, CGNR, 7% down the day. Now, I've talked a lot about grades in my podcast recently, and I've talked about the work we've done with research around grades, and 2 GT is decent and above. We've got 41 meters, which is not big in width, and 0.5 in terms of grade. So yes, it's not earth shattering, but they've talked about grades up to 3.1, which is good. But again, it's all about width. So what I would suggest here really is there's a lot more work to be done. Don't just take the 0.5 and go, oh no, that's not great. We need a lot more exploration work, and we need to dig into. I need to stop using these metals and mining puns, but dig in and drilling. Sorry. We need to really look into the asset in total and see if they can focus on one core bit of it, what the rate of return is, the payback, DFS, PFS, all these really good things that companies need to be doing to prove their asset is economical, which I recommend any company should do and give it to the market. So thanks everyone for listening. If you enjoyed what you heard, we own the largest UK Telegram group around. For investors, all about research driven to bring the facts to the fore, and that's what we're all about. So if you enjoyed what you heard, please feel free to come into our group and share discussions what you hold, and the link is in our details below. Thanks everyone, have a great evening and see you tomorrow.